Hi, my name is Ana Ceppi, and I'm the host of The Breakthrough, a show that captures a single awe-inspiring moment in business, a moment that ignites a change. Our quest is to go beyond the situation and the outcome and understand the moment when that breakthrough spark happened. This is The Breakthrough, portraits of business changemakers. Welcome to The Breakthrough. My guest today is Meredith Wega Perez, founder of Belle Fleur, a magnificent florist, aroma couturist, and whose mission is to bring beauty and love to every environment she touches. In today's program, we're going to talk a little bit about her personal journey, her professional endeavors, how she's really deliberately broken through, and how those pieces intersect. So first of all, bienvenida, Meredith.
Gracias. Great to be here, and thanks for having me.
It's so nice to have you. First, I want to really talk a little bit about the experience that you've had in your education, in your upbringing, and how that shaped your business, and how those experiences have really brought forward the grown-up that you are today.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Upper Montclair, New Jersey, not too far from the city. And I was so fortunate that I had, to the right of my house, adjacent to the house, we had an iris garden, a beautiful blooming iris garden that I have a lot of fond memories, just whether it's just chilling out with friends or actually volunteering. And then out my bedroom window, I had a glimpse, just a sliver of New York City skyline. And I think that made me a bit of a dreamer and made me kind of realize that this is going to be the trajectory in my life. And moving to New York City and studying fashion was sort of my first career move. I went to Parsons School of Design in New York City and in Paris. And I studied fashion design, and it was thrilling until I took a detour and went into florals.
Before you talk about your detour, tell me about that cultural immersion of, seeing through the window the city of New York, but in addition to that, moving to a different country, and what was that experience? What lens did that bring forward for you?
Well, it's Paris, and Paris, like New York. What can't we love about Paris? But a lot like New York, there's an energy. There's a palpable energy. There's something that, le je ne sais quoi. It's one of those places, those cities that just awaken your senses in so many different ways. And I think I grew a great appreciation for design, all different mediums, by the way, not just fashion design, which is what I was studying. I found myself walking into Tuileries. I found myself people watching, and I think at Parsons in New York City, I was exposed to this global network, which made Paris such an easy transition. So it's two places that I love, that I consider home.
And in your studies, and when you were thinking about couture being your place, your fashion being your place, who was your business hero? Who did you look up to, and who inspired you and still inspires you?
I mean, I think really any fashion designer that is very well branded inspires me. I take a lot of pride in branding my business, and I think I learned and I am inspired by the big names, the Ralph Laurens, the Donna Karens, the Calvin Kleins, places where I've worked, and also the magical designers that dream big, like Oscar de la Renta and Carolina Herrera. Haute couture has always been a fantasy, and it inspires me to this day.
And so does fashion bring students like you together? What's a cultural pull that happened through the beginning of your career?
Well, I think Parsons is an international school, so it was a global network that I was beginning to formulate from the very beginning. We have students from all over the world that study there, so it was kind of taking those different perspectives and those experiences, and at that time being enlightened by them, and now being inspired by them. I think Parsons had an incredible ability of bringing teachers in that were not just teachers at the front of the classroom. They were CEOs of huge beauty companies. They were editors at incredible top-tier magazines, and they were hands-on. Their approach to teaching was not just about a textbook or about projects, but instead they brought us into their world and they inspired us. And I think that mentorship with real executives and inspiring people wanting to give their time to students was, for me, an important lesson early on, and how I now, at the stage that I am in my life, want to contribute and give back.
That's beautiful. So that ecosystem that was real life and defining, again, really participating in it from real life point of arrival, right? So you had your point of arrival coming into the ecosystem that you were part of, and that had that collaboration. I love that. How did you fit into that? Like, how does a girl from New Jersey who looks to the city through the window across beautiful fields, how do you do that?
I think I've always been motivated. I've always had an inner driving force that I have kind of this inner voice that tells me, don't let anything stop you. Just keep moving forward. Even if you're going to trip a bit and you're going to fumble and you're not going to know where you're going, you're not going to necessarily know how to navigate everything, that's okay. You know, getting lost in the garden and getting lost in the city, it's pretty much the same. You know, you just have to keep your eyes open, look up, look down, look around, and appreciate everything that's around you, and find like-minded people that can be part of the journey with you.
And so those like-minded people, I call them cultural accomplices. Can you give me a descriptor? Who is a good cultural accomplice for you?
That's an excellent question. An individual, you mean, like a certain person?
Either an individual or, I mean, you've mentioned phenomenal designers. I'm assuming that the editors of the rags, and then I know in your own life you have brides that really inspire you. They're conspirators. You're conspirators with them. Your girls are conspirators to you.
I guess there's a lot of different people in my world that I am so grateful to have, that keep things moving along and keeping joy in the forefront of everything that I do. So yes, my daughters are a driving force for me, and they're my educators, in fact. As much as I think I'm teaching them a lot in life, I think they're teaching me so much as well. I believe that my team at Belle Fleur, my company that I've built, the business partnership that I have with my mom has been, I mean, there is nothing that could describe love on such a deep level than being in business with the person that gave you life. So I think I'm very fortunate to have a lot of inspiring role models and a lot of alliances in this business and in this life.
So I always look at you, and I know what my first impression is. What is your North Star? What's your guiding principle? What's a takeaway when someone receives your beautiful flowers, like the ones, thank you for our bouquet today. But what do you want to elicit from your work?
Yes, I mean, I start from a place of intent with everything that I do. I start from a place, my North Star, my mantra is always going to be kindness. Everything starts with kindness and empathy and love. And when we have a floral bouquet order, a simple arrangement, it's not so simple because that arrangement, that bouquet, is translating a message. And I take that responsibility. It's so important to me to understand what that message needs to convey. It could be a condolence, it could be love, a courtship, it could be congratulations. There's so many different emotions from one single bouquet. And that's what I'm most passionate about, is that this is not just a commodity. It's not just a product that I'm moving from A to Z, but along that way, it's moving people. You know, it's something that is very hard to explain, but being that conduit of love, being that messenger, playing Cupid all day long, it doesn't phase me, and I'm not jaded at all. I just I'm so grateful for those moments every day where I can be part of people's emotions and sentiments.
Let's take a tiny break.
Okay.
We'll focus on how Meredith and Belle Fleur managed the changes that happened in 2020, and really look at those moments in which flowers went away for all of us, but they came back. We'll be right back. We've just spent time getting to know Meredith Wega Perez, founder of Belle Fleur, and her journey as an entrepreneur who's focusing on bringing this notion of multisensory environments to home. That's the business that she's in. So Meredith, could you share with us, when you started Belle Fleur, you talked about being a second generation, being part in business with your mom.
Yes.
What was your ambition when you started Belle Fleur?
My ambition was really to use flowers to convey beauty and emotion. And it started off quite simple, but it grew organically. I think our client base really appreciates the attention to detail and the level of communication and service that we provide. And that's so important to me. It's not just sort of these lists of what's important, how to grow a company and how to stay on top of your game. But these principles are imperative and integral to how we've grown our company.
And you talked about capturing beauty and capturing joy and capturing emotions, which I think is so powerful, because there is an emotion that's being conveyed through flowers at a point in time when they're being gifted, and you need to capture that. When you started designing, you and I have talked about this notion that you really wanted to do couture flowers. You didn't want it to be expected. You wanted to be completely untraditional. And even when we look at your work, it is really breathtaking.
Thank you.
And again, I know that there is so much care and so much love that happens in selecting the right partners and selecting the right person to affiliate yourself with. And once you got to being like the florist in New York City, you took a big pivot. And you started doing more of the multisensory piece. Can you talk to us about that part of your business?
Sure. So yes, we have the gifting side of the business, which is, like we talked about, an emotional purchase. And there's a lot of care that goes into a small bouquet, sourcing the flowers, the vessels, the emotion, the sentiment. But then there's the bigger picture. Huge, big weddings are happening all the time in New York City. So every single weekend, we are designing in some of the most incredible venues around Manhattan. And working with brides is so special, because you're on this journey with them. And you have one shot. And that connection between myself and a bride, or myself and a groom, or two brides, two grooms, it's memorable, but it's short-lived. It's usually 6 months to a year of planning and diving in deep to great design discussions. And then all of a sudden a room just transforms, and you see this couple walk down the aisle, and you feel as if you are just this facet, this really sweet, special, artistic, creative facet of that moment in time, which is so special, which is so important. So that's another part of our business. And then there's the corporate work that we do, which is great. And those are repeat clients. They just kind of come in constantly over and over and over again. And we're working with brands on how to take their style and their vibe and use flowers to transform space or dinner tables. But I would say that the newer component of our business, not so new, it's more than a decade old, but we started a home fragrance company. And that gave us a taste of a global market. Because remember, this is a local business that we have here in Manhattan. And all of Manhattan is this hustle, bustle of energy. We're still local. We're still just a small little floral business. But when we launched fragrance and we started wholesaling candles and reed diffusers and room sprays, we got a taste and a glimpse of not just a global market, but something that took our brand and it became so much larger than I would have ever expected.
And so then 2020 happens. So you're in this tremendous growth trajectory from a mother-daughter business to establishing yourself in New York to doing the big couture individual items to then going to big weddings of very famous celebrities and being trusted with building an ecosystem in very important days. And then you capture the multisensory piece and then we go into lockdown.
Yes.
And to me, I always admire, talk about breakthrough and pivot points. That's where I think I most admire your business acumen. So can you tell us what you did during the recession? I mean, during 2020.
2020 was a really tough year, but it was also an opportunity. There was also just a moment where I was able to pause, which I find that I rarely have that opportunity, that moment to pause and reflect and to reposition. So I suppose, like everyone else, and I'm no different, there are so many companies and people that struggle during that time, but I remember it was mid-March and everything came to a crashing halt. And we stopped everything. But come June, 3 months later, I felt that I needed flowers. For the first time, the table turned and I was actually in need of flowers. I was in need of flowers to just inhale and smell and see and touch and get my hands dirty, and I needed to create. Even though it was just our family at home and our puppy, I needed to get back to the flowers, not the business, but the flower side of things. So I called my broker in Holland, which is where I purchase probably around 60% of my inventory of fresh flowers. And I called my broker and I said, I see that you're up and running still. Is there any way that you can ship me some flowers from the different farms? You know my favorite flowers: peonies, ranunculus, garden roses, sweet peas. The list is long. I said, just send it to me. My birthday's around the corner in June. And he said, you know, it's expensive to FedEx from Holland. And I said, I'm aware of that, but this is a gift I need to give myself. And for the first time, I was the recipient. And in comes this huge, big FedEx box. I, of course, waited 24 hours. I Lysoled it down, making sure it was completely sanitized. And I opened it up, and it was as if butterflies were fluttering from it. It was an inexplicable and memorable moment. And I had the best week designing with this box of flowers, designing, redesigning, thinking about different vases. I was using mason jars and I was using coffee cans, and I didn't have enough vases at home. And it was so much fun. And I started posting on social media, and organically, and happened very quickly. So it wasn't too organic in the sense that the phone just started ringing and the DMs started coming in. And my clients and my friends started saying to me, where are you getting these flowers? Are you open? How can we get our hands on this? And I said, well, let me think about this. And that was the aha moment. That was when the light switch went on. And I thought to myself, wait, I could facilitate these shipments from Holland directly to the doorsteps of our client base and stay engaged. And it wasn't even, the motive has never been about, let's get another stream of revenue here. Let's get some money in the bank. It's never been about that. It was about filling a need for so many people that were experiencing a pretty dark moment in time. And I just gave myself chills. So I remember.
You needed it. Everybody else needed it. And again, what I love about it is that you moved from owner to experienced person.
Yes.
And then you took that at scale. You replicated that box for everybody else to be able to get that same feeling and emotion.
Correct.
And then I'm going to take it one step further. You then did tutorials, virtual tutorials, so everyone would understand what was the flower, what's its origin, you did like a whole immersive virtual experience so people could feel what you feel when you touch the product.
Exactly, and I wanted to educate and inspire. And I wasn't giving away trade secrets. I was working out of my kitchen, and I was on Zoom, and I was making these video tutorials and emailing people so they would know what vessel to use, how to condition these flowers, how to get the most length of time so that they would live and bloom in the most magnificent way. And that connection that I had with clients I mean, it was strong. It was really strong. I was getting repeat orders and subscriptions, and the business just took off while everyone was at home. And it was the perfect time because people were home and they had a lot of time on their hands and they wanted to create. So I had lawyers and people in finance for the first time not being afraid to create because they always thought that, let me stay in my lane. Well, this was an opportunity for all of us to take up new hobbies and enjoy some creative outlets.
So I love where we are. Just to recap, you know, from small florists to couture florists to big moments, emotional moments, and capturing that, to then stop, to then having the foresight that people needed the same thing that you needed, which was beautiful flowers and beautiful environments, and that you were going to walk them through it.
Absolutely.
So we have learned about Meredith's journey as an individual and as an entrepreneur. Now, she saw that business opportunity during the pandemic, and when we return, we're going to have a list of rapid fire questions so we can add context to Meredith's vision of the world. We'll be right back. We've learned about Meredith's journey as an individual, as an entrepreneur, and that she saw the business opportunity during the pandemic. We now turn to the list of my favorite, the rapid fire questions, to add context, cultural context to Meredith's world and her vision. So here we go. Ready?
Okay, ready for you.
What book, movie, or show are you watching now?
I love Drops of God.
Oh, I don't know it.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Me too.
All right. What's your favorite word?
Flirt, but I spell it F-L-E-U-R-T.
Okay.
A little flowery there.
Oh, I love it. What is your loved one's favorite word?
Can I make it 3? Love you, Mom.
I don't get that one as often as I would like to. Where do you feel most inspired?
I love traveling.
Favorite place?
Florence, Paris, New
Okay.
York City.
Everything?
Everything.
What's the most interesting conversation that you have ever had?
I had a conversation recently with Martha Stewart about Japanese versus Dutch sweet pea.
Way beyond my league. What is the role of corporations?
It should be social responsibility.
And what's the role of individuals?
More empathy.
More empathy. What is success?
Success is a door opening and leaning into it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. How do we measure failure?
I don't believe in failure.
You don't believe in failure?
Every obstacle, every hurdle is an opportunity to grow and evolve.
When is the right time to stay the course? You know, people talk about, I'm just staying in my lane and staying on the course. When is the right time to do that?
When you have a vision and a purpose and they align.
Beautiful. When is the last opportunity to innovate?
There's never a last opportunity. I think it's ongoing.
I love that. I always say when I'm dead. When should we break through? You've done 3 breakthroughs on your business. They've been phenomenal. How do you encourage us to recognize those signals for a breakthrough?
I think there's a fierceness that we need to roll up our sleeves and get to work and charge ahead when there's a moment of breakthrough.
Okay. Why is there room for innovation?
I mean, innovation is endless. There's just so many different directions to go with innovation. So it's all around us.
And I always think that you're in the growth business, right? Beautiful growth is what you capture, either at a wedding or at a moment of courtship, or those are moments to me where you really need to be innovative in how you express the same emotion that you express at home. So what is your least favorite word?
Can't. It should always be I can, you can, we can.
Love that. What is a word or sentiment we will all embrace in the future?
Well, I think practically speaking AI, we need to embrace that, good and the bad.
How do you feel about AI?
I'm scared,
You're
but I'm
scared.
also excited at the same time.
Interesting. What would your parents say about your breakthrough? What does your mom say about your business and all the breakthroughs that you've had?
I think my parents often say to me, you see, the sky is the limit.
Okay. But I mean, it's interesting from your vantage point, the sky is the limit when they already had a limitless sky. So you've just raised the sky for all of us, which I love. Okay. Who will you be when you grow up?
Do I have to grow up? I love being carefree and young at heart.
I love that. I don't know who I want to be when I grow up. Definitely a better version of me. What is the best way to describe you?
I think I'm an eternal optimist.
You are. Stylish, I would add.
I try to be kind.
And you're super stylish too. And you're defining our canvas. And that is a beautiful place to be. What drove you? I mean, outside of the business need, what drove you to innovation? What's that fire in the inside that drives you to innovate?
I think to be the best version that I can possibly be. I think I'm my biggest critic, and I think my driving force is being the best version of myself.
I think your work is art. I see it. I have pictures of work that is oil on canvas that is over 100 years old at home. And I see the resemblance between your work and that work. What piece of art would you love to own?
I would love to own so many different pieces of work with flowers, but there's one photograph that Bert Stern photographed of Marilyn Monroe in the last series. And she's holding these two big roses against her chest. And it's so beautiful, and it's so sexy and women empowered. And I love that. So one day that will be framed and hung.
I believe that. I believe that. And by the way, that is what you capture of women when they're in a really shining a light in their moment of weddings, right? You're capturing the essence of them and the energy that comes with that moment, and how critically important that accent piece is, which really is the finishing touch to many decisions and collaborations, which you talked about, which I love. What could we all do without?
Toxic politicians.
Okay, tell me more.
We can do without guns. We could do without. The list is so long, but we need more flowers to make this world more beautiful. That's for sure.
That's a perfect place to land, because I do think, again, I see your work. I encourage people to look at your work, how expansive it is, how multisensory it is, how much you bring of the person that you are and the places where you've been, how it really informs your output, which is just magnificent. Thank you so much for sharing the space with us, for all the innovation that you do, for the beautiful profits that you bring forward. I mean, it's stunning.
Thank you, Ana.
We're really thankful for inspiring us and for being part of the breakthrough and sharing the space with you and with you. My name is Ana Ceppi, and this is The Breakthrough.